Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are joining. Thanks a lot for joining this new session of EduBride University webinar series. Today's topic is related to the training providers requirements. So we are going to talk about LMS features which every training provider should be using, or at least should be aware of if their LMS supports it or if it doesn't support it. That's fine, but we're going to just talk about some of the standard features they should be looking at. The presenters for today's session are Ajay Upadhyay, myself. I'm going to be the moderator of this session. And Brian Rush, who is going to run through the presentation, and Manish will be doing the demonstration of the application. So with this, Brian, I'm going to hand it over to you, and you can start.
Thank you, Ajay. For the agenda for today's discussion, we're going to first talk about creating a digital storefront, and then we're going to discuss targeting various audiences and how you can do that with the multi-site, and then various aspects of e-commerce, including currencies, and then we'll talk about the various content types that should be available on your LMS to be able to support. And then we'll talk about sales analysis and revenue and analyzing reports and making sure that your business is running the way it should. So first, let's talk about creating a digital storefront. The platform should be designed to sell individual courses or subscriptions through e-commerce. You want to make sure that the course descriptions are indexed by search engines. So when learners are searching for a particular course, your training provider site comes up in the engine results from the crawling of your course description. And then you want to be able to control the branding and the look and feel of the catalog and make sure that it's marketing your courses properly with perhaps a tile view of the course and a small description, perhaps leading to a larger description. But make sure that the branding and the marketing can all sell your courses for you as a visual, so that it's not just a blob of text with descriptions. And then you also want to make sure that it can allow courses to be previewable. This allows potential customers to sample the content for a predetermined duration. So if you want to provide either a particular section or a piece of the video for a particular duration, you could do that. And that can also help market the courses and increase your revenue. You want to be able to target both B2C, business to consumer, and business to business e-commerce revenue. So that allows you to serve multiple audiences independently. So having different verticals like healthcare, insurance, safety, construction, all those different audiences, you don't necessarily want them to have to sift through your catalog. It's better to have a microsite platform where one LMS can offer seemingly separate businesses to be able to serve each vertical independently with unique content and branding for each one. And then selling courses internationally, you want your user interface to be able to be localized in many languages, European languages, Asian languages. The internet is a worldwide avenue for your sales, and you should be able to target the languages to any type of audience that you'd like. Not only should your content be translated or localized, but your user interface needs to be as well. So that's something to consider for your LMS. And from an e-commerce standpoint, an international standpoint as well, offering multiple currencies is just as important as the localization. So you want to be able to accept payment in any currency from anywhere. And that bleeds into this next topic as well, with payment gateways. Payment gateways such as Stripe, Shopify, PayPal, and Authorize.net, they approve the exchange of assets amongst purchasers and merchants so that payments can be made with credit cards. So they act as in-between services, processing the inputted information provided during checkout and facilitate the authorization or fulfillment of payments. Additionally, training credits can also be offered, and that acts as a currency of its own. And training credits can be purchased in bulk for larger sales transactions to be redeemed within a prescribed time frame. So that's another revenue generator in terms of allowing your potential customers to buy in bulk and perhaps even at a discount. Another thing to consider with payment gateways is whether or not they can handle recurring or subscription billing. So that's one thing you want to make sure of. And then in the case of other items, such as the lower tier of PayPal, it actually allows or forces the customer or the customer to leave your site and go to the PayPal site and come back. And you want to make sure that you're not doing that. So otherwise you risk the abandonment of transactions, and folks will not necessarily follow through on the purchase. So all those are considerations that you want to make when you're considering which payment gateways are capable within your system. Another thing with e-commerce is making sure that it has flexible pricing options. You want to be able to offer discounting and promotions, such as a Black Friday or Cyber Monday that we've just had recently, or upcoming holidays, or if you need to drive some revenue this quarter, it's time for another promotion. And then you can have different promotions and special offers to delight your clients and even attract more people to your online offerings. Additionally, you could bundle courses together into a program or a package and offer those at a discount for more flexible packaging. And then another piece of revenue that could be considered is extending the subscription period. If somebody's coming up for not having completed their training on time within the prescribed duration, you can offer a subscription period extension for a fee if it's not completed in time. And then there's different coupon codes that you should be able to create. You could have a coupon code for a subscription without any payment. So if you wanted to offer a complimentary training as a lead, you could do that. And then offering a coupon code for a particular amount, a specific amount as a discount is another option. Or you could offer a coupon code for a % discount where it's a relative value. And all these coupon codes can be created for a specific group, or whereby only members of that group can enroll using that group specific code. So having different groups allows you to set the price at varying rates for varying customers. If you have a loyalty program, for example, and you want to offer a discount for folks that have gotten a number of courses under their belt already, it's something you can do. So you want to make sure that your pricing options are all very flexible. From a content type perspective, you want to support content from numerous sources, including SCORM and AICC packages, and being able to upload media files, including video, audio, and file uploads, including documents and presentations, as well as assignments. And then being able to offer cloud content inside the actual course player, again, not leaving the platform, such as YouTube and Prezi. So having the various content capabilities of the system is very important in terms of making sure that you're going to be able to offer a vast variety of training. And then when it comes to assessments, instead of just a SCORM assessment that are often the output of authoring tools such as Articulate or Captivate, you want to make sure that you can use a native assessment engine, because that offers some unique advantages, including many question types that you're seeing here, as well as more robust and aggregate reporting. And also is easier to update because you don't have to republish the entire SCORM course and its assessment. And then there's also less vulnerability for hacking than a client-based SCORM course. And you also want to make sure that assessments can support multiple proctoring options. And a derivation of an assessment really that's not graded is a survey. And you want to be able to make sure that you can offer different types of surveys that are easily customizable. So for example, a Likert survey might be a 5-point scale or a 7-point scale, or it might be a matrix question in which it's offered in a table format, as well as open text fields, or so that learners can provide their opinions that aren't asked in a prescribed manner. So those are all things you want to consider for your assessment when you're looking at your LMS. And speaking of assessments, oftentimes they're the qualifier for whether or not somebody becomes certified in something. So with certifications, you want to be able to easily promote and sell your certification programs and exams through your storefront. This, again, could be a recurring program. So if it happens every year and you want to make sure that that they get their certification in advance of it expiring, you can have notifications go out for that, and also reports pushed to you so that you're aware of upcoming certifications as well, and do any kind of active promoting and marketing that you may want to do for folks that are coming up on expiration. And you want to award the learner. There's 3 different forms you can do. Certificates are the most oftenly used. They should be able to be designed, custom designed certificates, and uploaded for use for each certification on your storefront. So if you've got the multiple verticals we were talking about previously, you'll want to have different custom designs for each vertical, and perhaps even for each subject of each certification. Also, open badges are becoming more popular now. Open Badges 2.0 is now available, and these serve well beyond the paper certificate or even digital certificate, because there's code embedded inside of them, allowing them to expire and to be validated and things like that. So it also allows the learners to own and control the digital sharing of their earned skills and knowledge. So these learners can then share their certification completion via social media from within the system, which is free advertising for your business and allows you to attract more customers. And then the ultimate reward is CEUs, continuing education units. And these are controlled by an authorized provider. And you want to make sure that your LMS can offer the CEUs according to the regulations that are set up by these providers, and offer different CEU values for the same training, even if they are two different roles. For something such as nursing, you want to be able to offer a certain number of CEUs for one role and a different number of CEUs for a different role, even if it's the same training. There's also something to consider around ID verification. Oftentimes in regulatory environments and government environments, there are course-based rules that states set for imposing time duration. So it's not just whether or not the learner has clicked through the course, but it's also how much time was spent. And that is something that you might have been in contact with by having taken a DMV course in lieu of having to go to court for a traffic ticket, whereby you have to sit on a page even though you've consumed the content. It's part of the regulation that you have to be doing a certain amount of time, as well as having consumed a certain amount of content. And part of the validation and verification that's needed to make sure that it's you taking the content the whole time and taking the assessment is getting a set of personal questions that validates that it's actually you. These questions might be as simple as what's your dog's name, or what your mother's maiden name is, or something of that nature, whereby it's something that only you know, and that way you are verified throughout the course of the class or test. And the window needs to remain active, so that typically the duration will have a timer start, and any idle time will log out the user. So you can't just take it and walk away. From an instructor-led training perspective, you want to make sure that your system can handle multiple rooms. You would also want it to have the room capacity, potentially drive the wait list, so that the seats can start the wait listing if the seats are all sold, and then somebody cancels. You want to be able to offer that to somebody else with an automated queue for wait listing. Likewise, you want to be able to offer group discounts, so that if somebody has a single purchase or transaction and they are purchasing for more than 3 seats, for example, you could offer a discount for those. Attendance tracking, you want to have sign-in sheets if you want to have those available for the physical attendance tracking. Also, it's helpful to have the online form of attendance tracking, so that the instructor can mark those folks as attended in the system itself, rather than having to take a written sign-in sheet and transcribe that into the system. Cancellation policy handling is very important. If you have a certain period of time in advance of the class that the customer can cancel with a certain amount of discount. So for example, offer a 90% discount 3 months in advance, keeping the 10% for your overhead and administrative costs. And then also, if it's 1 month in advance, you could offer something such as 50% discount redemption and refund. And then a week in advance, you could say it's 75% or none at that point if you wanted. So look for something that has a very flexible cancellation policy handling. Another thing to consider with training center classes is proctoring of exams and the like. So for certifications that are more on the high stakes side, that you need to have an exam proctored, you could make sure that the system is available to centers that offer that type of single room with ID validation, and then no potential for cheating with books or computers or anything in that room. So those are the various training center options as well that you want to consider. So that's the online and the instructor-led side of things. And then beyond the catalog that you have on your own website, you may very well want to embed the catalog information code into another website so that you can have multiple storefronts in other websites. This allows you to have this kind of code embedded in someone else's website in an iframe, and then that's where it could increase your sales by having multiple avenues to your catalog. And then from a sales analytics perspective, you want in-depth reports so that you can keep track of who is taking your courses, which content items are the most popular, and how much revenue you've gained. You also want to get these customized reports pushed at specified intervals to your inbox so that you don't have to run reports on your own by pulling it out of the system. Get these reports pushed to you. Another report that you should consider is upcoming expirations. As I mentioned earlier, you want to be well in advance. You want to know well in advance of who's coming up on expiration so that you can target them in a bulk email and then perhaps offer a discount or at least a reminder that they're coming up on expiration so that they can get their next one scheduled. Running revenue reports as needed or specified is very important as well. At this point, I'm going to pass it over to Manish, who's going to do a walkthrough for us. Manish?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Let me share my screen here. All right. Thank you very much, Brian, for walking us through some of the best practices and some of the scenarios or the important points to consider if you are a training provider. So no matter whether you're a small training provider or mid to large size provider, most of the items which Brian has talked about, most of the best practices which he talked about are important consideration. And from an EduBride perspective, we have a tremendous experience working with many training providers and have come across these scenarios where a small training provider is just could be a 1 or 2 people organization to all the way several tens or hundreds of people in the organizations looking and training for their customers. And the scenarios which we have come across are more B2B and B2C, the retail scenarios, as well as some training large customers, both kind of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through some of the things which Brian talked from an EduBride perspective, how those things are handled in EduBride platform from the end user experience, as well as, and when I say end user, is essentially training providers customers who are actually buying the trainings, and also from cover some of the points from the administrator perspective, the training providers essentially how they are going to set up certain things in the platform. So I'm going to use a couple of 2 different sites to give a little bit perspective here. So for example, right now I'm on a site called learnzone.edubride.com. In this, you can see this is a catalog listing here. So this is where you can show all the items which you are selling. Some of these items could be free or some of these items could be paid. So it's always a lot of time I have seen that courses are offered for free, so that you want to capture the attention of the people who are maybe interested, and they can sign up and take a small free course, and then basically it can encourage them to buy the real course where you're maybe potentially offering the continuing education. It's those kind of things. So you can see this is kind of a list of a catalog. I'll just kind of focus on a couple of last items here. So one of the item here, you would see that this is one of the course you may be offering, and there's a price associated with it. So there could be some small quick view information can be made available. So your end user can quickly view this. And if you want to provide a little bit more detailed information, you can provide that detailed information also, so your learners can click and see a little bit more detail about the catalog item which you are selling, the course which you are selling, some payment information, or the learning objectives. In certain case, you can also allow a preview option. So if it is a large course and you want to before somebody purchases it, so you can see here you can have a preview option available. In addition to preview option, you can see you can also have the duration for which this course is available. So you can have a predefined duration. And that also brings up a good point, something that you can, EduBrite allows you to package the same course and sell in the for a different duration. So you can have a different price point for a different duration if you would like to have that. Let me go to the preview option. The preview essentially shows the course outline and shows excuse me, what are the items that are inside the course. And you can see in the preview option there are certain items which are available as a logged item. So those are the items which this learner won't be able to view unless they make a purchase to this particular course. But the other items which are not logged they would be able to view. So for example, if I click on this particular item here, welcome to this, they'll be able to view this particular item. So you can fully control what exactly you want to show as the available item, viewable item. But beyond viewable item, it's a good idea to expose the course outline to your learners to encourage them to make a purchase. In addition to that, let me go back onto the catalog. Brian touched based on the bundling option or the course packaging option. So you can sell these courses as an individual unit, or you can bundle them into what we call it a program. So in certain cases, we have scenarios where these courses are sold individually also. So they can be sold individually at a certain price point, for example, like $100 each. But when you're packaging them into 3 courses into some program, then essentially you can offer a certain discount or a different pricing point. So that's another thing which you can do. And all the information which is here, this additional information, there are placeholders for putting this information. We call this like a big banner. There is a payment information, learning objective. So it gives you a pretty deep flexibility to put this information. And as Brian talked about, the ability to the search engine to index this information. So that's another added benefit, because when somebody is searching for some of the terminology which are used here in your big banner or the learning objectives, Google can crawl in, and then essentially you can drive the traffic to these pages. These pages can also, if you are a training provider where you have already a well-established website and you have a catalog listing on your site, then you can link your individual item directly to this page also, so that from your website the users can be driven into this training portal. And we do have some experience where we can further talk as we go in the discussion, where we can provide affinity with your site, so the experience for user is going to be pretty seamless in that case. Another thing which I am going to talk on the let me go back on the let me go on to the sign-in side, on the sign-up side. So when somebody is signing up for this particular site, you have an option. This is an important thing which is needed always, that you definitely, for a new user, want to collect some information, their email, first name, last name. But in addition to that, there's always some additional pieces of information you may want to collect from the users who are signing, for example, license number or some personal information that can be used. So you have full flexibility in creating this sign-up form where you can have some of the additional fields, and these fields can be optional or mandatory depending upon your need you can have. So what I'm going to do, I have a user here. I'm going to log in as that particular user here, and then I'm going to just continue to show you some of the things which I was talking there. So I was trying to, you could see that I was trying to buy this particular robotic certification program. So it's taken me to this screen, but I'll just go back onto the catalog and come back to this screen one more time just to show you that flow. So now I have logged in as a user, and you can still see that some of the items are shown here as a buy item, and some of the items are shown as enroll items. The idea behind it is that in your catalog there could be multiple flow of items, where some items, as I was saying, could be offered just for free and the others could be paid. So let me go and make a purchase here. So for example, if I go and make a purchase of this particular program here, I'll click buy and it will take me to the buy screen. Now there are a couple of options you have when you are on a buy screen, depending upon how you would enable that. You can either support the individual purchase, or we also have a cart mechanism where you can allow users to buy the multiple items and through the cart mechanism. So here I'm showing you a quick flow of individual purchase. When you're making an individual purchase also, then there are a couple of options you have. So if you are buying for yourself, then you can just continue by putting the information what is available here, and then you can continue through the payment transactions here. But let's say if you are somebody who's looking to buy for your team, maybe you are a customer organization who's looking to train the 5 users in your team, then essentially we allow you that option that you can become you could be a manager who's purchasing in a bulk here, and then essentially going to enroll your team members. For the time being, keeping a simple flow, I'm just going to walk you through an individual purchase. Now you can see this is a $100 price item. So EduBrite also supports the coupon coding. So you can issue the voucher or a coupon code to offer some additional discount. Maybe you're running some sort of a promotion. You may already have distributed those discounts. So for example, in this case, I'll just use one of the coupon code which I know, and you can see if you use that coupon code, it provides the necessary discount here. Now I'm going to do here is I'm just going to complete the flow of the purchasing here so that we can show you how this experience looks like. Now there are a couple of important items here which I want to talk that, like in this case, I'm showing you an experience from a PayPal perspective. So what happens in a PayPal, most of you are familiar that anytime you're using any payment gateways, we support multiple payment gateways, PayPal, Authorize.net, Stripe, and few others. There are a couple of experiences which we have seen are useful from the your end users perspective, that PayPal allows you, for example, both type of experience where user can stay on the same side where they are purchasing. For example, this is the case which you are seeing. And the other experience of a PayPal is where the moment you click the payment, it takes you to the PayPal screen, you complete the payment transaction there, and then it brings you back to the from where you started. Now we support both workflows, but in this particular case, we are showing you a direct PayPal experience where you are not basically sending this user outside from the the site where they're making the purchase and where they're going to take this course, but also you're keeping them right then right in the site, so that it makes it a pretty simple experience for them. So let me just click on buy now here, and you can see if the payment is, it's a real-time transaction which is happening in a PayPal. And once the payment is successful, then you can see the congratulations prompt. In this case, we are showing the integration with the PayPal sandbox, but the process is exactly same for the production environment. And this is working exactly the same way. in a live it is going and checking with the PayPal environment, validating the credit card, and then confirming the funds are there, and then basically approving the transaction. And once the transaction is successful, you would be able to present the transaction details here, the invoice ID and the transaction ID. And this is also an important item from the sales analytics, which Brian talked about, that if you're looking to cross-validate the payment transactions report in EduBrite and match them vis-a-vis your PayPal, you'd be able to match them with the transaction ID. So in this case, let me just continue here and click on the program which I purchased. And once you are basically click on that, then essentially as an end user, you can start launching this particular course. So if you want to, in this case, you can see this program has 3 courses, and there is some prerequisite setup. That means you need to complete a course 1 before you can go to a course 2, or you can go to a course 3. So you can basically launch and start going through the experience of that particular course. I'm not going to go into the detail of the course experience right now, but essentially the idea here is once users is inside the course, then they can start viewing the content of the course. And this content could be anything which Brian has covered, that it could be a SCOM, it could be some uploaded content, external content, those kind of things. Another thing which is very important, which we have seen while I'm here on the course player, I can talk just from the experience of the training providers. 2 points I want to specifically mention here. One of the point which is very important is that some of the continuing education providers have the requirement for what they certificate they are issuing, that user has to spend certain amount of time on certain lessons or certain content or a group of content. EduBrite allows you those rules to be enforced. So what you can do essentially in this case, so for example, this is one of the lesson which you have here, and if there is a need for a user to spend, let's say, 1 hour on this, you can enforce that. So unless user completes 1 full hour time on this particular lesson, they would not be allowed to move forward. So those kind of enforcement you can do. Actually, I'm going to use another course to discuss this feature a little bit in detail here. So let me enroll user to another course called program management. This is a little bit better. Here you can see you have a module, and inside a module you have these individual lesson. So there are 2 types of conditions which we have seen required by the training provider. One condition could be that at individual item you need to spend certain amount of time, or maybe at a module level. That means how much time you spend on individual is not important, but the collective time in the 3 is important. There has to be some predefined time. This test of a DMV is a good example if you have taken the online. So that's an important feature which is needed. Another is the ID verification. Is when you are taking a quiz or when you are taking the course in between, we have the tools available where system can prompt the verification of who you are. So you remember when you sign up, if you provided your license number or some additional personal information that has been collected during the taking a course, that information, those questions will be presented, so that user has to respond to those questions, and then if they answer correctly, they can continue, otherwise they are logged out. Another thing with the time-based the certain time you need to spend important is that let's say if you need to spend certain amount of time, and if you open the screen and leave the timer run and then go back and do something else. Well, for example, you can see here the timer is running at the bottom. So if you leave it running and you go back and then you want to make sure that you exhaust the time, EduBrite also supports the idle timeout. So that way, essentially, you can time out this person, so they need to log back in and essentially take that. Another thing which is important, that I'm on this screen. For example, if I change my screen, then essentially if I change the tab, that the timer automatically stops, basically because this particular tab becomes idle. So there are certain good mechanisms that has been set up based on our experience from the training providers who have used the platform. Let me go into the here on the my learning here and just quickly show you, go to the dashboard first, and then I'll just go here. So here I'm on a dashboard of this particular user who is enrolled into certain items. So you can see this user enrolled into certain programs, courses. In addition to the programs and courses we talked about, a lot of our training providers also have a lot of sessions, which could be the in-person sessions, or it could be a blended session. So for example, this is a good example of some of the meetings which may be available in a certain locations, and the detail about the presenter, and these are also the paid trainings available, very similar to the purchase which we have done for the online courses. The instructor-led session can also be sold through EduBrite. And when user is on a dashboard, they will be able to see the different program, courses, or events they are enrolled in. So I have not taken a course, but what I'm going to quickly show you is this particular user has completed one of the course successfully previously. You can see one of the compliance training. So as they have completed this course, you can see there is a they have been awarded a certificate. So there is a certificate available here. So let me just quickly open the certificate here. So this is a certificate, and the certificate can be fully customized. So if you are offering the training where you have a CEUs and some additional information about your organization or some specific verbiage, all that can be configured here. Another important thing which we have seen is that for the same courses can be taken by different roles. So for example, I can remember one of the examples, like nurses versus the physicians taking the same course. The different level of CEUs can be issued for taking the same course, and in their certificate you can have a different verbiage. So those kind of flexibility is also fully supported. Here in this particular case, when the course is completed, there is a badge is issued. So you can see this is an open badge concept which was discussed. So if you want to allow this badge to be shared to further basically, I mean, it's a benefit for both end user as well as your organization. So for example, if this user want to tweet this badge, they can tweet this badge. And let me take this quickly, the URL, just to show you what exactly in this URL of this open badge standard. So you can see this particular URL which is being shared essentially contains the detail about your training providers organization, that who is issuing the badge, and the details about person who is essentially getting the badge, when exactly they're being awarded, what is the validity, and if there is any expiration associated with it, that would also be shown. So these are some of the things which essentially from an end user perspective which you can show. Now there was in this particular site the language is not configured, so I'm going to use another site quickly to show you the quick experience about the language. So you can see this is another site I have where end user has logged in, and they're seeing that dashboard and some other details. Look and feel is slightly different in this case, and for example, you can see the languages are configured in this particular site. So if you change the language, you will see the corresponding menu options and the items here, the language would change. So those are also the setups which you are able to do depending upon who your audience. And we have seen that many of our customers are selling both English, Spanish languages courses, especially they are based in the United States. So that's a pretty common requirements that we have seen. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the admin side of it, and then I'll just talk few things from the admin perspective, which could be an important thing. So first I'm going to start with the reporting. So there are two reports which are always pretty helpful. First report is the course enrollment report, where you would like to see a quick progress of the users of whether they have completed, not completed, where exactly are they in. So this particular report is very, very helpful. So you can search for a specific user, and if you want to search for a specific license number or any other custom field which you have defined, you would be able to do that. You can filter for a specific course. You can search for some other values like those who have completed, not completed, those kind of things you would be able to find here. The another report which is important is the payment transaction report. So let me go into the payment transaction. This is the report basically provides the detail about the different actual transactions those are taking place from the purchasing perspective as users are coming to the catalog and making a different purchases. So you can see here that this is a full view of all the different transactions that took place. You can download this information if you need to download. You can search for any specific period to see the progress. And in addition to that, another thing which you will notice here that you will find the full detail about the user who is making a purchase, the item they're purchasing, the price they're purchasing for, any coupon that is being used, the day, and the transaction ID. This is the one which I was referring to, very, very important when you are looking to cross-validate with your payment gateway. And in addition to that, I'm also going to talk to you about a little bit more about a coupon. So you can set up a coupon in EduBrite, and the coupon can be set up at a different level. So coupon can be set up at the site level. That means they may be would be applicable for all the items which are available in the catalog. Coupon could be set up at the group level. So for some of your large customer, you can create a set up a group and put the users of those customers in that group, and then you can issue a group specific coupon code, or you can also issue the coupon code at the individual item level. So you can say it's like this particular course is specific, or this particular program is specific, or even a specific coupon code. So this is kind of a quick view of the screen of setting up a coupon code. And if I go, for example, inside any of the coupon code, just to look the details about the coupon code, I would be able to see that this coupon code has been used 46 times. It can be used, allowed to use 1,000 times, 50% is off. And if I go further down, this is where it shows the usage. So you can see that at what different dates different users use it for purchasing the different products. Those are available in the catalog, and you would be able to download this information right from here. Now, another thing which I have shown you there is important is the custom properties, the user properties. So you remember that one of the property license number was shown when you were going as a sign up. So this is a place where you can set up as many fields as you would like to show in your page, and then some of these fields could be mandatory or some of these can be optional. So you can see this is a quick setup where you can provide the details about these different options which you would like. So if you want to make it a mandatory, you can enable this option. If you want to make it a searchable and some other options available depending upon the specific use case you would be looking for. Then let me go on to the couple of quick items here on this site detail side. So on the site detail side, couple of quick items which I can show you that we support multiple payment gateways like PayPal, Authorize.net, Stripe, Shopify. So you, depending upon, you can use one or more payment gateways. We also have a support for multiple currencies, so you would be able to use those multiple currencies if you prefer to do that. And this is where essentially you provide the details related to your merchant account, which you have with the different payment gateways, so that you can essentially set up this particular option here. If you are a training provider who is offering the live trainings, instructor-led live sessions you are offering, then we do support various live integration with various live streaming tools like WebEx, GoToMeeting, ReadyTalk, Zoom. So you can set up them, those also here, and that allows you to sell the live training right from within the EduBright platform. In addition to that, for example, some of the things which you can do is that you can, if you want to enable a CAPTCHA during the sign up, just to make sure that it's not a robot which is signing up, or somebody is not signing up through writing some sort of automated scripting. A human being is signing up. You can enable CAPTCHA here. You can also enable, for example, the search indexing by external engine. So depending upon your specific use cases, you can do that. We also support, this is an important feature which we have seen across many training providers. They use that once a user completes the course or a program, it allows users to be deactivated automatically. But even though they are deactivated, you can allow them to log in and see their history, what they have completed in the past. And if they make a new purchase next year, let's say if they're renewing their CEU or they're retaking some new course, they sign up, they make a new purchase, they become automatically active, reactivated, so they become active again. And so the idea behind a lot of these, giving these types of tools and technologies, that it can run in a pretty autopilot mode. We have, as I said, we have a lot of training providers who are running the system with a 1 or 2 person once they have set up, and if you have a limited courses, it runs in a very autopilot mode, because the catalog is published, user comes, makes the purchase, takes the they get awarded and they get deactivated, new user comes, and the cycle continues, and the old user comes back, they can log in because it allows the system allows them to log in, they can make a new purchase. So a lot of this becomes a very automated. And so depending upon your scenarios, all those different things can be set up EduBright. Last but not the least, we are at the almost getting top of the hour, which I want to say. If you have a large training providers, then we do have a provision in a platform where we support that you can make. We have a concept of a group. You can, in the group you can make. We have a role called a group admin. So you can make somebody at your large customers place a group admin and give them a privilege so they can view the progress of their team. They can get notification how their team is doing. They can run the reports. They can reminder notifications can be sent to the user as well as this group administrator. So a lot of administration can be delegated. So again, as part of running the little bit more autopilot program, you don't have to worry what exactly your large customers user is doing, because you have delegated that responsibility to somebody in your customer's location. So with this, I'm going to, Brian, give the control back to you so that we can go to towards the last slides.
Thank you, Manish. So in conclusion, there are many considerations when choosing an LMS for a training provider. You have to consider all of your options up front when you're purchasing the LMS, regardless of how small scale you're at right now. You want to make sure that you forecast your requirements and business needs for when you are scaling up. And then, as Manish was mentioning, it's great if you have a system that it can be put on autopilot for minimum maintenance and administration. So set it and forget it kind of thing until it's time to revamp your training programs. Just allow the automations inside the system to take care of a lot of that work for you. And then it's also very important to be able to forecast your revenue, see how your promotions are doing, see what kind of discounts have done, and then go from there. So another thing is pushing reports on a prescribed basis, is making sure that you get those reports pushed to you instead of having to actively go into the system and pull them out yourself. So with that, I'm going to move to the Stay Connected slide here. And for the user community, you want to be able to take advantage of our learning and connect with the EduBrite support team. That's what Ajay was saying on the very initial slide at university.edubrite.com. That's where our support tools are. You can also keep track of our release notes. We're constantly and perpetually adding new features and new capabilities. So stay aware of those new features and enhancements by way of our release notes. And check out our blog where we also talk about state of the industry and how we're keeping up with that. So with that, we want to thank you very much for today's session, and know that this recorded session is going to be available in support.edubrite.com as well for future reference. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brian. Thanks, Ajay.
Thank you, everyone. So we look forward to see you in the next session. Until then, goodbye.